Okay, everything should be working. Let's just see if you can hear me. I can't see anyone on the count yet, but there's always a delay. God. So veins first, as usual. Half an hour before. Hi, Luke. I want to have a bonfire on the beach. That's awesome. So, unless you say something else, I'm just going to assume that you can hear me just fine. Usually I don't have problems with my microphone, but it has happened. So it looks fine to me. Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. Gronek. Where are you from, Thomas? If you want to tell me. So I guess most of you have been to my live streams before. I'm just going to do this one the same way as I'm doing them normally. First, I'll talk a little bit about something, which today will be HOMA-IR, just because it came up in the video that I posted 3 days ago. Thanks, Necro. So yes, let's begin. And I can't see how many people are here. It looked like 4, and now it's dropped to 1, so I'm not really sure what's going on. And I'll just let people catch up. I know it's hard to catch the live stream right when it starts, but I don't want to sit here and waste everyone's time, those who actually are here. If someone wants to watch the beginning again, they can always come back and do it. Evening, Andrew. Hope you're well. Polish father. There we go. Cool. So, some UK, mostly Americans as usual, which is fine. And I guess America is quite a large country. So there are clearly more than one person watching, because I have more than one people actually saying something. So once I'm done with this, it might be a little bit longer today. I don't know, depending on how much I'm going to talk. But after that, I'll just scroll back through the chat, see what you have to say, and answer any questions. Because when I try to answer them in the middle of my presentation, I usually get very distracted and I'm not really sure what I'm doing. If I see something that looks like I can address quickly, I'll do that. So I'll just say it again. I just wanted to do this video to follow up on my interview with Nick. Hi, Julie. Welcome. And what he was talking about with regards to insulin resistance and how to measure it, because we don't have an official way of measuring insulin resistance, and usually what they're looking at is more the HbA1c and your blood glucose level, the fasting ones, and they might do a fasting glucose tolerance test, which actually is quite good to assess that, but we're not always doing that. So one way you can do it yourself, I mean, you can do a glucose tolerance test yourself, but another way of doing it and actually see what is happening on a hormonal level is the HOMA-IR. So I've been talking about blood glucose and insulin quite a lot lately, and I've done some tests on myself and to see how I react to different foods. And mainly that has been with insulin, because with blood glucose, because that is really easy to test at home. So you just get a blood glucose meter, you prick your finger, you put it on the stick into the machine, and it will get a reading for you. So that is really easy to do. So my assessment based on the testing that I have done makes me think that I have pretty good blood glucose control. But I'm probably gonna do another video just for fun on my birthday, which is in the middle of February, because then I will actually be eating cake. And so one thing that you can also use, now I don't necessarily recommend that you do this, but if you are going for a cheat, and is that if you're eating anything, whether that be a large sugar pig out or a large meal full of carbs or whatever, if we measure blood glucose after 60 to 90 minutes, something like that, if it's still above 7.0 0.8 millimoles or 140 milligrams per deciliter, you are definitely on the way to becoming insulin resistant. So that's probably what I'm going to do on my birthday. That sounds like a lot of fun. So my my birthday cake eating will be a whole experiment. I will do all the things that I'm teaching with regards to cravings when you're actually having something that you shouldn't be eating, but you plan for eating, how I'm kind of dissect that and destroy it. And I'm probably going to do the blood glucose thing as well, just to see how quickly I actually react and how well my insulin responds to my cake eating. So that's what I'm going to do on my birthday. That sounds like an awesome birthday. So anyway, I feel it's time to talk a little bit about how you can do this test on your own or for yourself. And you will need to go and get a blood test. So you can't do the whole test at home, but you will get a pretty good estimation of whether you are insulin resistant or not, or where you are on the scale on how insulin sensitive you are. So first I thought that I was going to go and do like a range of tests myself, but it turns out that it's actually quite expensive to do that here in New Zealand. So I might just pop in to take my insulin measurement one day. They are quite expensive here though, I must say. They're about $55, including the service fee, to have the insulin done. So I'm just going to wait until the next time I'm paid, because my bank account looks pretty sad right now, so I won't really be able to afford that. And we don't want to skimp on the meat over here, so I'd rather have some good quality meat and eat that than rushing my insulin test. And it's just quite funny as well. I'm not very good at having my blood drawn. Every time I think I'm doing well and I'm managing it well, and then just when I think I'm finished, I get really dizzy. It's like a stupid dizziness, and it's really, really strange because this happens even if I just take like 1 or 2 little tubs of blood. One time I had 6, and then I thought I was going to throw up. I felt so sick after, so I'm not really sure. I think there might be a blood pressure thing going on, something, I don't know. It's really strange because it's not that much blood that they're taking. So I'm not looking forward to that. I'm going to try to get myself into the right mindset. I did that last time. And yeah, I thought I was doing fine until I was going to stand up. Then I got really dizzy. So HOMA-IR, what is it? So it stands for the Homeostatic Model Assessment of Insulin Resistance. So that is quite a mouthful. So from now on, I'm just going to say HOMA-IR. And what it does is that it shows you the relationship between insulin and blood glucose so that you know what is actually going on. It will show you how good your body is returning both insulin and blood glucose to homeostasis. So how effective your insulin is at lowering your blood glucose to the level that you want to have in your blood. Basically, which is, between 4 and 5, something like that, usually. So basically what you do when you do this is that you multiply your blood glucose figure with the insulin, and you divide it with a constant. So that constant is different depending on what units you are using. So I think the most common one is I'll show you that in a second, is the American way of doing it, the American standard units, so milligrams per deciliter. And I'll have a look in a second. It's micro IU per milliliter for insulin. So the lower your score is, the better. Although if it's 0, you're probably dead. But somewhere down towards 0.5 is still considered normal. So anything that is less than 1 means that you are insulin sensitive. So that is what you want to aim for. You don't want to be above 1. Ideally closer to 0.5. But beggars can't be choosers. So let's say we're happy with anything under 1. If it's above 1.9, that indicates early insulin resistance. And if it's above 2.9, you have a significant insulin resistance. Andrew, no, I can't get super chats, but if you, let's see if I can find it. I had it on a banner. If you want to donate, you can do that here. So you can go to that address. It should be in the comments to the video already. If you scroll down a little bit, I have some links and stuff before that. So you can do that. So does that mean that I have to go and get the test done next week? I'll book it in. I can't do it on Monday, but I think you can actually pay for it online. You can just pay for it online, and then it's actually a drop-in service. So it might take a while, but I have a lot of things to do at work on Monday and some training to get through, etc. So I'll try to get it done as quickly as possible. If you guys are happy to pay for it, I'm more than grateful. And of course, I will report the results back to you, Andrew, and everyone else. Okay, so where was I? Now I got distracted. Yes, so this is the thing that you can have, like when I was testing my blood glucose, you can have a normal blood glucose level. And a normal blood glucose level responds after eating pretty much anything. But your pancreas might be working over time, pumping out massive amounts of insulin so that you can keep your blood glucose stable. So your blood glucose looks normal, but your insulin levels are sky high, and you wouldn't know this. So just measuring your blood glucose will not tell you whether this is the case or not. But when you're taking both insulin and blood glucose, you will have two variables, and both of them will affect your HOMA-IR score. So this will obviously show you whether one or the other or both are elevated, and therefore you can assess whether you are having some sort of insulin resistance or are at risk for getting it. So another example might be that you are eating really, really well. So you're perfectly fat adapted. So you're but you are insulin resistant, but you don't know that. So you walking around, you're having constantly high insulin levels, and your body is really good at burning the fat that you eat because you're eating a low carb diet. So you have all the enzymes and everything. But since you have high insulin levels, insulin is a storage hormone, and it also prevents any release of fat from your fat storage. So you're burning the fat that you're eating really well. So you will have energy, but then you can't lose weight, for example. And you think that you're not properly fat adapted, but that's not the problem. The problem is that you have high insulin levels. So I'm going to show you a couple of slides. Let me just share my screen here so that it's easy for you to understand what I'm talking about. So first I'm going to show you the calculation. So this is how you calculate HOMA-IR. So that is the fasting plasma insulin times fasting plasma glucose, and that would be divided with 420 if you are using the units that are down there, which is micro IU per milliliter. So that's international units. And for fasting plasma glucose, God, I can't talk, it's milligram per deciliter. So it's a very easy calculation. And if you feel like, oh, I can't do that, then you can go to the link below. I've posted that in the description to this video as well, just so that you can easily find it. And on the same page, if you have different units, they will show you how to convert them as well. Okay, so let me show you a couple of examples here. So let's say this is person 1. And I have used person 1 as my own fasting glucose levels. So that is about, on average, maybe 4.1, and that equals to roughly 74 milligrams per deciliter. And when I've tested, my glucose is very stable. I seem to respond to insulin very well. I don't see a problem. But let's say that I'm going to the lab, I'm getting my insulin tested, and it's coming out at 10 micro-IU per milliliter. So if I'm then calculating that, so 74 times 10 divided by 420, I get 1.76. And that is actually, not twice, but close to twice as high as I would like it to be. So this is showing that I'm on my way to become insulin resistant. Now, I want to talk about the person 2, which is totally made up by me, because this is pretty much what Nick was talking about when he mentioned the condition that he calls inflammatory hysteresis. So a person might have a fasting blood glucose of 100 milligrams per deciliter. And this looks it's considered okay. It's considered being normal. It's nothing. If you just went to the doctor and you had this, and they would say, yeah, it's fine. You could get it down, but it's still within the range. It's fine. You don't have to worry about it. And then you just keep doing what you're doing, you're going to make everything worse. So if you then had your insulin measured and it comes out at 20 micro-IU per milliliter, and you calculate that, you will have a HOMA-IR of 4.76. That is pretty high. So this is exactly what I was talking about before. This is when you have a person that might have tried pretty much everything to lose weight. So you might be struggling to lose weight, or perhaps you have lost some weight and then you hit a plateau so that you can't seem to get any further no matter what you do. You might be exercising a lot, you might be on a super low carb diet, a carnivore diet, whatever, and still nothing is happening. Or possibly you can lose some weight, but you retain the weight around your midsection. That is definitely a sign of insulin resistance. So sure, 100 might be a little bit high, but most doctors would probably, just watch your sugars. There's no drama because it's not that high. So this person would probably have a slightly high HbA1c, but again, it might not be super high, because if this person is eating a low carb diet, they never overload their system with a lot of sugar. So therefore it looks like it's all right. If this person was not on a low carb diet, this would look totally different. This would look terrible, probably, especially HbA1c. So HbA1c and blood glucose together will not always actually show you what is going on. So that's why we want to know the insulin levels as well. And if this person, let's say there's someone who's been on a ketogenic or a carnivore diet for 2 years, if they went to do an oral glucose tolerance test, they would show up as diabetic. And often I think most people who are in the low carb community, they know that if you are not eating sugar or a lot of carbohydrates, you might show up as you being insulin resistant when you do such a test, or diabetic. And we are blaming that on that we're not producing the right enzymes, our bodies are no longer responding to it. And that is probably true in most cases, but for this person, that would probably be true. But even if they were used to doing it, they will get that response. So we might do that test and just totally dismiss it because we've been low carb for so long. We think, oh, well, it's fine because it's just because of that, but it's not necessarily so. And as I said, the excess insulin that is in your system 24/7, because remember, this is the fasting insulin, is just going to prevent you from losing any sort of weight. And if this person is on a ketogenic diet, for example, they might struggle with fasting quite a lot. They might feel like they are quite hungry a lot of the time, and they need to eat regularly to maintain their energy and to get rid of that hunger, because they will be hungry, because on a cellular level they're starving. They're not actually having that energy. The energy is on their body, but they can't access it. So that is clearly a problem. So I'm gonna stop this here. Let's see if I can get back to the window. And the first thing I see is I'm a bad boy. I had a milk smoothie with fruit. Yes, bad boy. Okay. So for this person, keto is clearly not enough, unfortunately. Exercise is one way of getting things moving, and I'll probably do a video on this at some point, unless Nick is going to come back and talk about that. But when we're doing exercise for insulin resistance, we want to keep it short and we want to keep it intense. Those are key things, because when you are exercising, your body will produce cortisol. And cortisol doesn't help with the insulin. It kind of makes it even worse. So you definitely don't want to do anything like running or any type of chronic cardio at all, or biking. Possibly if you were doing very low intensity that doesn't get your heart rate up above, let's say, 110, 120 maybe, you'll probably be fine. But that will not really help you, as you know, in the same way. It's not going to be as good as very short and very intense exercise. Let's just put it like that. Fasting is another excellent way of doing this. Intermittent fasting, 12 to 16 hour fast, may not be enough for this person. So you may have to do OMAD. It's not, it might not be enough either. And then you might have to move over to something like 48 and 72 hour water fasts. And this is probably going to be very, very painful for a person that is actually having these figures because of the insulin resistance. And if you're fasting and your body is not letting go of your stored body fat, you are going to be very, very hungry. You're going to be very, very tired. You're not going to feel well at all. You might be dizzy. You might feel sick. All those kind of things that are telling you that I really shouldn't be doing this because it does not feel good. I'm not a person that can do fasting. If you can persist and if you can get over the hump, you will most likely start seeing some results again. But that is probably going to be a bit of a struggle, but it's quite effective actually. Right, so back to HOMA-IR again. As great as this test is to show you how insulin sensitive you are, there are obviously, as usual, some restrictions to what this test can show you, and a few things that I think that you should be aware of when you are doing this. So the first thing is that labs can't measure insulin levels less than 2 micro-IU per milliliter or 12 picomole per liter. So you might get a test back which says below detectable limits or something like that. That just means that it's less than 2. And less than 2 could be anything from 1 to 1.9. You have no clue. Anyway, it's quite low, and it's fine if you put that into the equation with, 2, even if your blood sugar is 100, you're going to come back with a very low score, less than 1. Hooray. Are we happy with that? For most people, sure, that's great, but not always. So if this is the case, and you know that you have a high HbA1c, for example, and you know that you are having elevated blood glucose levels, what could be going on here is actually that you could have type 1 diabetes or another problem with your pancreas that prevents it from producing enough insulin. So you need to consider this as well, just as a warning, so you don't go and do it and you think, oh well, my blood sugar is high, but my insulin's low, so everything's great. I think that is a big warning sign, and you need to go and see your doctor immediately for other tests. There are many different types of adult onset diabetes, etc., that you need to get tested for so that you can get treatment if that is the case. If your blood glucose and HbA1c are normal, you probably don't need to worry about it. Then it's probably great. So another thing that you need to consider is that whether you're measuring C-peptide or plasma insulin, because sometimes they will measure C-peptide rather than insulin. And the difference here is that C-peptide will show you the true value of the insulin secreted and produced by your pancreas. So basically, C-peptide is attached to insulin, and this molecule is called proinsulin, and that is an inactive molecule. When you need insulin in your system, what is happening, you will have an enzyme that comes and snips it off, cleaves it, they get released into the bloodstream, and insulin is becoming active. So the problem with measuring insulin is that it is very quickly degraded, and it's going through what is called the first pass metabolism. So this is where it's released into the blood and it goes through the liver and gets metabolized before. Sorry, it goes through the liver before it gets into the bloodstream. Sorry, I'm confusing you now. So the amount of insulin released is not going to be the same amount of active insulin in your bloodstream, because it depends on how much insulin your liver is breaking down when it goes through there, and that is different for every single person. So we're not taking this factor into consideration. When we measure insulin in the blood, we're not measuring the function of your beta cells in your pancreas, basically. So you will only see how much insulin is in your blood at the time of the blood test, but not how much insulin has been produced. And another problem with insulin is that it varies quite a bit throughout the day, even when you are fasted. And this is quite interesting, it is not released constantly over a period of time. It is released in batches. So it's like vesicles with insulin, and they just like poof. It's like a smoke mushroom, whatever you call them. When you step on them, you poof, and you get like a dose of insulin thrown in. So that is how insulin is basically released into your body. So when they have tested this, when they've done some research, so I read one research article where they've done tests every 5 minutes. So they took 3 tests every 5 minutes, and when they came back, they saw that the variability is actually just, I think it was 10.3%, but let's say it's 10%. So if you get the number, let's say you get 10 or whatever, it doesn't matter what your number is, and the next time you measure it to see if you have improved your insulin sensitivity, you get a value that is 5% lower. That doesn't mean anything. That just means that the first time you might have hit on the higher end, and the second time you might have hit, got the blood test done on the lower end when you hadn't just had a dose of insulin released into your bloodstream. So it's kind of inaccurate in that way. So we really need to consider that. So when you're calculating this, you might want to calculate it with a range of insulin to see where you're at. But you will get a good figure that you can kind of use, I guess, and then compare with the next time. But just keep that in mind, that is not that accurate. Plasma insulin is not very accurate. You can use C-peptide to measure your HOMA-IR as well, but you're not going to get the same number, and it's not going to show you your insulin resistance. It's going to show you more how your pancreas is functioning. Okay, so What this means is just that if you want to calculate the beta cell function, as in that you would probably want to do that if you are assessing for type 1 diabetes, for example, because you want to see how well your pancreas is functioning, then you're using C-Peptide test. And if you want to calculate your insulin sensitivity, you want to use plasma insulin levels. And that is because that will show you how efficient the amount of active insulin in your bloodstream is at maintaining your blood glucose homeostasis. So I think I've been talking enough already. If you have any questions on that, just ask anything, and I will scroll back through the chat to see what you have to say. And that took me almost half an hour. So yes, I was going on for a while. So there are not many people here today. What's happened to everyone? I think people stopped loving me. Okay, everyone can hear me. Good stuff. Yeah. So Andrew is clearly eating a big fat steak. You know, Andrew, what I did this morning? I went out just before I came on here. I went to the butcher's because they had beef fillet on sale only today. So I had to go there early and just get me 3 of those. Andrew, toward it, not all of it. I'm not made of money, you know. Andrew, I appreciate whatever you can donate. I appreciate you very much. I appreciate everyone who wants to donate. Don't worry about it. I'm just really grateful. I mean, I'm grateful for all you being here. I'm grateful for all of you supporting my channel. I know some of you have put your playlists on to help me get the watch hours that I need to get monetized so I can get some ad revenue, etc. So it's all good. Oh, Donna, I don't have time right now, but we'll listen later. Thanks, Pim. Yes, Donna, that's all right. I guess you already left, but thanks for popping in. Thanks for letting me know. It's good to have you here. So, Luke, milk smoothie with fruit. I haven't had that in years, I think, but that's nice. So, Necrokitty says, person 2 sounds like me. And yep, fasting is the only thing that gives me results. Okay. So, Necro, have you ever tested your insulin and glucose? Would be interesting to see what your numbers are like, actually. And Shell says, same. And for both of you, not just have you tested your insulin and glucose, have you also tried exercising and see what is actually happening then, and if that is helping at all? For some people, like Nick said, some people, they get to a certain level and then they're stuck there. Luke says, fasting is so peaceful for me, but I never tried multiple day fasts past day 2. I'm afraid I will feel so good I may like it and do more. Eating is good, but frequently bugs me. Okay. Look, I have only done one really long fast. Really, for me anyway, it was 7 days. For some people, a really long fast would probably be 30 days or more. But for me, that felt like a long period of time. And I think after day 4, I didn't feel for food. I wasn't really hungry. I mean, intermittently, I felt a little bit hungry, but it was all good. And when I was going to end my fast, I was like, I'm not really bothered. And I just ended the fast because physically I had this strange dizziness going on, etc. So I thought, it's best that I am ending my fast. But hunger-wise, etc., I could have gone on for quite some time, I think. I feel like I should get a degree after this. Fascinating. Yes, it is fascinating, but obviously it sounds quite easy, but it's so complicated, really. There's so many factors that affect all of these things, and I don't know about even half of them probably, and I'm not sure everyone knows everything about it, but it is fascinating. That's why I love biochemistry, because that's the way of actually learning what's probably going on there. They are all out on the lash, as we say in the UK. Right. Shell. Well, still loving you, Pim. Perhaps people hard work or something, hard work or something. Perhaps they do. I would have come to my live stream anyway, because as Nesra said, I find this really fascinating. I love it. It's really interesting, and that's why I like experimenting with it, and that's why soon I'm going to go and have my insulin levels tested. I'll probably just do the insulin. I was thinking about doing a lot of things, but it's gonna cost me up towards like $300 to do a blood lipid panel, doing HbA1c, insulin, CRP. I might test CRP, but it's also a bit maybe unnecessary, etc., and ferritin and all those kind of things. So maybe later, maybe when I monetize, when I can get some ads revenue from YouTube, I can go back and have some more blood drawn when that money is coming in a couple of months or whatever. Necro, you said OMAD was a good idea, but when I do OMAD, I go into a 4-hour food coma where I have zero energy. Then after that, I feel wonderful. Okay. Food coma? No, after the eating. Okay. So that could just be I mean, whenever you eat, and I'm assuming now that you're eating, a large portion if you're only eating once a day. So what is happening, that all the blood in your body will go to your stomach and you will digest things. And it could also be if you are like person 2, and if you have constantly high insulin levels, you might after that get quite high blood glucose levels as well, and you have, it takes your body a while to deal with all of that food that you put in one go, and then you feel wonderful. So it could just be that. I can't remember. I think you told me that you have done longer fasts and didn't feel good, but okay, hang on. Necro has posted more down here. So before keto a year and a half ago, I had my blood sugar levels tested in a fasted state. I was 119 and 115 on days, so getting pre-diabetic. Okay. So yeah, it sounds like you could absolutely be person 2. So if you can have your insulin levels tested as well, you'll probably know better. And yeah, have you tried really short, intense exercise to help you with that as well? It's also fascinating. I'm very sorry that it is happening for you, but I do find it very interesting, and hopefully we can sort this out. What is your assessment of using triglycerides HDL ratio for insulin resistance? There's some research that it can be used as a proxy for insulin resistance. The thing with triglycerides is that they can be elevated for reasons that have nothing to do with that. So let's say that I'm losing a lot of weight. I'm going to have a lot of triglycerides in my system because I'm releasing them from my fat stores. So I haven't properly read up on that right now, but I'm going to write it down and we'll see if maybe there is enough material for me to actually talk about that as well. HDL. But I can see a lot of problems with it, especially, if you're losing weight, if you're eating a high-fat diet, those sort of things, they will increase your triglycerides. So it's not necessarily a good measurement. Obviously, you're supposed to do it in a fasted state. So if you're eating a high-fat diet, hopefully the dietary triglycerides won't be in your system when you're doing that. But still, if you're losing a lot of weight, or if you're a very efficient fat burner, then they might be elevated. They might be much higher than you would want them to be, according to the doctors or society or whatever you want to call it. Julie, dang, gotta run out for 30 minutes. We'll leave it running like I'm watching. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. So Nick, I find fasting is okay for about 16 hours, if not active. Otherwise, I feel awful. Maybe it's to do with I'm on the limit to be classed as underweight with my body fat around 5%. Yes, okay. So if your body fat is around 5%, yes, that you probably shouldn't be fasting because that is a very low body fat percentage and you need to get energy from somewhere. And with that low body fat percentage, you're going to struggle to get much fat off. So, yeah, I would say that that is most likely the reason for you not feeling good for that. Uh, you could try. I mean, maybe you're happy with where you are weight-wise, but if you wanted to, you could probably gain some weight and actually put a little bit of fat on and feel even better. Luke says, for some reason, I feel strong cognition and overall energy benefits even for a few dozen hours fasted. A few dozen. That's a longish time. Yes, that is natural. So if we go back and look at evolution, what would happen is you don't have food for a few days. You need to be on your game so that you can actually capture some food. So we get less tired rather than more tired. We get able to focus better. And all our senses are kind of on edge because we need to get that food. So that's how it works, as you know, as opposed to if you're on a low calorie diet, you're still getting calories in and you're not triggering the same system. And that's when your metabolism just goes down because your body's getting used to being, to the famine, etc. So those are two totally different scenarios, and fasting is always much more beneficial for you. Energy. Have you become more in touch with the physical state of your body? I've been able to feel leaner some days and more puffy on others. And what is the lag time between ingesting something and pooping? If I have become more in touch with the physical state of my body, I don't, unless I'm having my period, I'm not usually that puffy or notice things like that personally. I think, I don't know if it's more of a guy thing, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just in my imagination. So the lag time between ingesting something and pooping. I mean, if I'm eating just meat, that lag time can be quite some time because it's not enough probably to stimulate my intestines to kind of move things along. But if I'm eating a huge meal, let's say I'm having pizza and garlic bread and chicken and, just feasting or something, then I'm pretty sure I will go the next day. It's just too much food in the system and that has to be pushed out. So it has a lot to do with the volume as well, because a lot of volume in your intestines will actually trigger the nervous system to just push things through to make more space for new shit. Literally. Okay. Using keto strips, I usually come up negative even when 40-hour fasted sometimes. Trace, I'm coming up to a year keto carnivore. Is this fairly common or could there be issues I may need to address? Okay. Yes, okay. So this is quite interesting. Nick actually mentioned this on the inflammatory hysteresis video, that is also one of the signs that you might be having inflammatory hysteresis, is that no matter how low carb you go, you're not getting into ketosis because your body can't really, release enough and produce enough ketones for you to do that. That could be a thing. If it's common, I don't think it's super common, but I have a feeling that it happens in some people. Uh, so yeah, you might also want to check your insulin levels, actually, Andrew. Maybe you should have saved your money to have yours checked, or maybe you can actually get them on NHS. Just tell them what's going on. Tell them that you are worried that that is the case, and they might actually give you that test. So NHS is good in that way. Me too. I had a funeral day before yesterday. I had to perform songs, took carbs to boost serotonin to help performance. Paying for it now, lol. I should be banned for taking a controlled substance. No, you're not banned. You know I'm eating blueberries. I didn't have any yesterday. I did have some the day before, and I might have some today again. Um, Carbs may not be the ideal food source for us, might not be the best thing to do, but you know what? I don't think it's gonna kill you. I don't know what sort of carbs you had, but as long as you sang beautifully, I'm sure you're doing fine. Shell, the only way I can fast for 3 days is if I get a virus. I don't recommend that. No, I don't recommend that either. That sounds awful. So, Shell, how long can you fast for? Where do you feel like the pain point is? What happens, and could you get over that? Also, yeah. Necro, no high intensity exercise yet. I was still trying to figure out what exercises to do. I want muscle. My limbs are skinny and atrophied. I carry my fat on my torso viscerally, so cushions, I think. Okay. So that's, yeah, potentially. And also, linked to insulin resistance. You do sound like the typical person too that I described. So for you, absolutely super intense, super short. I think I'll send Nick an email today, and I'll definitely try to get him back to actually talk about the type of exercise that he does with his clients, and that is good for building muscle as well. So I'll get him back, Necro, and unfortunately there are not many trainers doing this sort of training because we live in a society where everything is according to the model more is better. So more exercise must be better and give you better results. This is not necessarily true. And what you want to do is that you want this intensity in your muscles to really, really get rid of the glycogen that you have stored in your muscles. You want to empty your muscle cells because your liver can store like 100 plus a little bit grams of carbohydrates, whereas your muscles can store several hundred grams of it, depending on how much muscle mass you have. So that would really help you actually store any carbs that you have in your system and make you more insulin sensitive, because when your muscle cells are empty, they will be much more insulin sensitive because they will want the carbohydrates or the glucose and they want to store it. So there's a really good way of increasing your insulin sensitivity. Do I think we need to refeed? Refeed after fasting? Or I'm not really... Okay, refeed on keto, as in, I'm assuming now that you're talking about carbohydrates. I personally, for those of you who didn't follow my 28-day carnivore experiment, it didn't last quite 28 days because I didn't do that well. I got really strange depression after about 2 weeks, plus a couple of days, I think. It might have started around 2 weeks. I got really, really down, and usually something that always makes me in a good mood is the sun. And it was this beautiful day, clear sunshine. It was not a single cloud on the sky, and I just felt like, what's the point of living? I don't want to be here. I hate my life. Why am I doing this to myself? And then I gave up on the whole idea. I had like a proper a, a bowl of blueberries, probably like 500-600 grams. I think it was a lot of blueberries going down anyway, and I felt so much better, really. And previously, I've always been doing like a cyclical ketogenic diet. Not in the beginning, I was doing proper keto, but later on, I found that a cyclical ketogenic diet worked really well for me. And I think I often see women do better with a cyclical ketogenic diet. Men tend to do really, really well on a strict keto diet ongoingly. Not saying that, sorry, not saying that men shouldn't do a cyclical ketogenic diet because they might still feel better doing that. But if you feel good just being keto, I don't think you need to refeed. But if you're feeling better refeeding every now and then do it. But try to do it with something that is safe so that you're not just refeeding with ice cream or cupcakes or donuts or whatever. Try to do it with something sensible. So I mean, for me at the moment, I'm not really refeeding. I'm just like eating blueberries maybe 3 times a week, maybe 200 grams at a time. So that would be about, I think it's 11 grams of carbs in 100 grams of blueberries. So 22 grams of, I'm eating like, let's say 65 grams of carbs per week, which is nothing. When then I'm having, meat and maybe some pesto and might be a couple of grams in there, but I'm probably under 100 grams of carbs per week and I'm doing fine. So I don't think we necessarily need a lot. If you feel better doing it, I absolutely think you should be doing it. Sometimes people do. So I just encourage everyone to just experiment with what you're doing and kind of have a little food mood journal as well. Just write down what you're eating, how you're feeling on that day, and then you can kind of see the trend that when you had carbs, maybe you're feeling much better for 2 days, and then it starts going down again, and then maybe you want to eat carbs every 3 days. I don't know. Nick, to gain, do you think it's worth using carbs as well, just to pile on some weight, then switch back? On carnivore, I just can't gain any weight. Been trying over a year. So, Nick, are you trying to gain weight or muscle mass? I mean, it's an old trick that bodybuilders have used for years and years. They are having a bulking up phase, and they just eat like pigs, and they train really, really hard. And because they're training so hard and they're eating so much, they will get a metabolic effect, and unfortunately, a lot of that is going to be fat. And then they have to lose all that fat mass. So they have like a build up phase, and then they have a lose weight phase. And that's where you see these mountains walking on the treadmill for hours every day. I don't think it's a healthy way of doing it. So you have to ask yourself, like, how important is the size to you? Maybe you could try to do that and then see what is happening, where your kind of soft spot is. So I like to differentiate between health on one side and then results for whatever it is that you want to be doing. So if you say that you want to put on some weight, do you want to put on healthy weight? Do you just want to actually be bigger for aesthetic reasons? What is the reason that you want to put on? So sometimes we have to trade one thing for another. Sometimes you can't eat optimally to get the optimal results that you want as quickly as you want them. So are you patient? Can you wait? Can you do this slowly in a healthier way? Or do you want to do it quickly? Then sure, go for the bodybuilder approach. Just, eat like a pig for a few months and exercise really, really hard. You're probably going to do all right. But then you're going to have to shed that weight and you might not feel good doing it. So you can always experiment with it. If you have been strict carnivore for a period of time, you probably know how much weight you have put on over that period of time. then you can try now and maybe do some extra carbohydrates for a period of time, see how you feel and what your results are like, and see if actually if that is enough to improve anything or not. I would try to, you know, it might just be that you're not eating enough as well. But yeah, I do think if you really want to put on size, then you probably need to increase your food intake. But just be aware that some of that would probably um, be fat mass. We'll see the doc. Thank you. Yes, Andrew, when you have done that, please let me know because I'm really, really curious what's going on for everyone. Shell. I can do close to 2 days fasting. It's all mental. I'm not really hungry. I'm fully aware of the habit of eating after work. That's a killer habit. Okay. Well, that's not bad then. If you can do 2 days of fasting. And do you let's see, there's another comment here from Shell. If you eat the same things at the same time every day, should you try to mix up those times and the food choices? That is a very good question. I mean, I'm not sure whether you are keto or carnivore. If you're carnivore, it's really hard to mix things up. You're eating meat. You might be eating different kinds of meat, or eggs maybe, or with the times of day, I tend to eat when I'm hungry, if I can. Now, if I'm at work or something, then I can't. And sometimes I've decided that I'm gonna have my 16-hour fast before I'm eating, or sometimes I just eat dinner and the next day I have to go home for lunch to take the dogs out or something. Then I won't eat any breakfast. I just eat at lunch. And that would be roughly the same time, plus minus an hour maybe. I haven't done a video on that yet, but I have talked about it before. There are your inner circadian rhythm, or whatever you want to call it. You are very much in tune with the time of the day and the daylight, etc. So your body will respond so much better to the food that you're eating and in every possible way if you're eating earlier in the day. If you eat after, I think it was like 4 p.m., even if you're having like an OMAD and you're eating your main meal after 4 p.m., your insulin sensitivity goes down. Everything is just, slower. You're not responding as well to it at all. So rather than being too worried about eating the same time or mixing it up, I would rather try to just make sure that it's earlier in the day rather than later in the day. Okay. Nick, if I have watched your content before and replay it, does this still help you? Yes, it does. You can watch my videos 50 billion times and I will get credit for every time you play that video. Thanks for asking. I find it hard to drop coffee, Golon tea, I don't even know what that is, fermented veggies like sauerkraut without getting depressed. I get not persisting. I'm making it this month with no fiber, which is a big accomplishment. Okay. The sauerkraut might be that, a change in your gut flora will obviously affect your mood. So if your digestive system or your intestines have a lot of bacteria that, are sustained by you eating sauerkraut and you drop that all of a sudden, you're going to get a change in that. And you might get, some bacteria release some sort of, chemicals that affects you and they will be taken up into your bloodstream and they will affect you maybe mentally in different ways or physically. So there could be a component of that. And if you're making a month without fiber now, I assume that you are not doing the sauerkraut. So you might get really depressed to start with, and then that will improve once your microbiome is adjusting to whatever you're doing right now. So that might be what's going on there. Coffee. I don't know if I mean, coffee is a stimulant, but I haven't heard about anyone getting depressed from not drinking coffee. That might be more of a mental thing that you feel like you're missing out. And why me? Poor me. Jaya Golden tea, I have no clue what that is. I can't really comment. Okay. Diego. After trying different protein to fat ratios on a carnivore diet, I can say I feel my best at 50-50 by calories. Higher fat is not for me. Okay, great. Then that's what you should be doing. For me, I think higher fat is better. I can't eat huge amounts of protein, unfortunately. I'm really struggling with that. So, uh, how many hours do I need? I guess you're talking about the watch hours. So I need maybe 1100, 1200, something like that. I think it was 1200 yesterday, and probably got 100 hours out of the stream that I did yesterday. So, yeah, I need you all to watch this one 10 times each. Then I'll probably get there. My goal is to get there before my birthday, and I think I'll definitely get there before my birthday, especially if you're helping me. So yes, that is correct. You need 4,000 in total, and I have 2,800 something. Yeah. Wait, not mass. Can't do training anymore due to being diagnosed with MECFS. ME? What's ME? Is that cystic fibrosis or is it chronic fatigue syndrome? Oh, I need to Google that. Okay, so that's just how it's. So that's chronic fatigue syndrome. Okay. So Nick. So what was the? So this was the you want weight, not mass. So this was the first question. To gain, do you think that's worth using carbs as well, just to pile on some weight and switch back? Nick, can you just increase your fat intake? Because we say that calories don't matter, but calories do matter. It's just the way that different types of calories affect your hormones and your gene expressions differently, depending on how they come packaged. With what are they coming with? How does this affect your body? But in the end of the day, you are going to have a certain amount of energy expenditure. If you can eat more than that, you will put weight on, no matter what it is that you are eating. Now, you say that you can't gain any weight on carnivore and that you've been trying for a year. Have you tried to go really heavy on fat before doing the carbs? Because if you start eating a lot of carbs, you're probably going to put on fat mass, and you don't want too much fat mass, I don't think. But if you can't do enough fat, if you feel sick or whatever it is you find it really hard and actually putting weight on doing that, then sure, do a little bit of carbs, but try to not go overboard, especially if you. Oh, I wish I have a friend called Daisy, or she goes by many names, but she has had CFS for, oh God, I don't know how long. I've known her for like 10 years, and it's taking her so long to heal that. And I would really, if you are on Facebook, Nick, I can put you in contact with her, but she lives in the UK and she is, at the moment, she's kind of away over winter caring for some lady. So she's not very active, but I would really like to put you in contact with her. She cannot do keto, for example. She did not feel well doing that. She's recently tried it again, going lowish carb, and she's doing a lot better on it because she is better, but she can't go zero carb. That's not for her. It doesn't work with CFS. And she has so much knowledge that I would really want to put you two in contact and let you talk to her. So if you're on Facebook, you can send me a message there and I'll just put you in contact with her. If you're not, send me an email and I might just send her a message and see if she would be willing to talk to you. I'm sure she will. Luke Gear. Yeah, dairy. That's a good thing. If you want to put on weight. Seed Runner. Hi, I haven't seen you for a while, have I? And did I? No, the chat just. Phew. I enjoy a few berries at times too. It makes me feel more satisfied and complete. Yeah. Well, the thing is that I noticed already with the blueberries I'm having 3 times a week, I start craving them after I've had dinner. When I come home, I just like, oh, where are my blueberries? So this is something that I need to keep under control because now I'm pretty fine with not having sugar most of the time. I don't really think about it. But now I'm starting to almost obsess about the blueberries. So I'm on purpose restricting myself to 3 times per week so that I'm not going over that because I could easily eat blueberries every day and tons of it. Did YouTube increase the hours? I thought you only needed 4,000. Pim has had a channel for a while. How many does she have left? No, it's still 4,000. I have a lot of videos, but a lot of them, like my 28-day experiment, my 30-day no sugar challenge, those videos are usually between 5 and 10 minutes, so they're very short. So I haven't actually got to 4,000 yet, so I'm on about 2,800-ish, something like that, maybe 2,900. So usually people reach the watch hours way before they reach the subs that you need, which is 1,000. However, I got 300 subs almost overnight. Not quite 300, but very close to it. I was on 750 to be exact, and I reached 1,000 in not too many days because Bart was announcing and asking you to subscribe on his channel, and I never really thought that there would be such a response. But I'm just like the power of people when everyone is actually doing something, and all you had to do was click the subscribe button to my channel. Boom, I'm over 1,000. So that's quite amazing. If we could do that in other areas of our lives, if we could just get people together and everyone contributes with, however little it is, the effect, the compound effect of that is just massive. So it's like super cool. And if all those 250 people just also watched like 2 hours each, I would almost be, or let's say if they did 4 hours, I would be at the watch hours, for example. So it's pretty cool to see. I feel like I know some of you because I've been talking to you, but I don't know you, and it kind of warms my heart that you would do that for me. Some of you might not. Those of you who are not interested in what I actually have to say are probably not watching this stream, but they still click the button to subscribe, which is really nice. Necro, I donated on Streamlabs twice. I mentioned my email in the donation comment just in case you don't know it. Okay, thank you, Necro Kitty. You are a star. I love you. I usually get the comments and it does tell me. I think it tells me your name if you have your name there, or it just says Necro Kitty or something like that. But yes. Matt Faster, 1.5 years keto, 50 pounds lost. BMI 29, insulin 14.5 weeks ago, blood glucose 90, walking 45 days per week, 45 minutes per day, last 6 months keeping heart rate less than 120, TRE of 16 to 8, it's going to take some work to get that fasting insulin down. Wow. So let's just calculate your HOMA-IR then. I'm just going to assume that that is the right insulin. 14.5 times 90 divided by 20. So your HOMA-IR is 3.1. Yeah, that's quite high. And yes, it's probably going to take some work to get the fasting insulin down, but you see, your blood glucose is kind of fine. I mean, yeah, sure, it could go down a little bit and that would be better maybe, but it's not huge. But then your insulin is really high. And yeah. I would try. I mean, I'm really a fan of fasting. Like, really. I think it's an amazing tool, and we're just so scared of it because we're scared of being hungry and uncomfortable. But if you can do fasting, I would really do that. And are you familiar with Dr. Jason Fung? Because he's fasting people with type 2 diabetes into reversing type 2 diabetes, basically. And I think fasting is just the most powerful and the quickest way of reversing type 2 diabetes, depending on, you might have to do it for a while, but it's a really, really powerful tool that I don't think we should forget about if you can actually stomach it. But with an insulin of 14.5, you might be that second person that I described as well, and it might be painful for you to do the fasting, and you might feel pretty shit and tired, etc. But if you can do fasting, I would probably go down that road, and then also, you could do the more. You're used to walking a lot. What you can do is just do, let's say, you can start with 3 10-second sprint intervals when you're out walking. And you're resting, let's say, 3 minutes in between, or something Cilia, as in give yourself a proper rest, but go all out during those 10 seconds that you're sprinting. And then you can increase maybe up to 20 seconds at most, and maybe up to, 6, 7 intervals or something over time. And that is a pretty good way of doing something intense for your muscles and just empty them of glycogen and have them actually becoming more metabolically responsive. So I would probably do that because you're already out walking. Why not run a little bit if you can? Or if you can't run, I mean, there are other things that you could potentially do as well if you can jump or whatever. Don't forget that on carnivore, you also get a gradual body composition change that may not show up on the scale. Yes, absolutely. So if you eat right, you don't even have to exercise. I've seen people pretty much putting on muscle from just eating right and losing fat. So if you do a DEXA scan without any exercise, and obviously you weren't exercising before, so you're kind of in an untrained state, you can still put on muscle just because your body is like, I have lots of protein, I will put that on. There's obviously a limit to how much you can put on that way, but yes, that is absolutely correct. Let's see. I don't have ME/CFS, but I likewise struggled for about a year to gain mass on carnivore. I'm finally seeing some results by including raw milk. There you go. Cool. Don't you hate all these guys that are like, oh, I can't quit from weight? Such a guy thing. No girl would ever say that. Shell, mostly meat-based, I reckon. I work full times. I eat before work and go all day until I get home and have a snack. Night shift sucks so bad for circadian rhythm. Yes. Okay. Yes, night shift can mess you up pretty well. So I'm hoping that you don't eat anything when you are doing the night shift. So that's a very important thing to do. I would also, I don't know what you're working with, but if you can actually wear like blue blocker lights when you're doing your your night shift to limit the amount of, artificial blue lights that you're getting, etc., is probably a very, very good idea. Um, yeah, I mean, it's hard to get around, but I wouldn't recommend anyone to work night shifts unless you really have to. I think in the society that we're in now, everyone expects everything to be open and happening all the time. So someone has to do that. But I just wish that we would think about the health of ourselves as a population and scrap that. It's not worth it. It's going to cost everyone money in the end. It's not something that will promote health in any way. Sea runner. I've been mostly carnivore over recent 6 months. Before that, keto, paleo. I think body composition is finally improving. That's cool. Congratulations. I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, so from keto paleo to carnivore, and something is happening. So that's good. Paleo usually contains more carbohydrates, like, the typical sweet potatoes and stuff. That is really nice. I haven't had that forever. But that's good. It's interesting. I love when people are getting good results. It's cool to hear about. Yep, no sauerkraut this month. Okay, see how it goes. And come back in February, I guess, or whenever you started, and let me know if that is affecting your mood, and if it actually had gone back to stabilizing, if you're gonna reintroduce sauerkraut or not, and what's happening. Going through great information, Pim. It's really interesting what you say about eating after 4. It's not optimal, but what about dinner? And if hungry after work and training, would it be better to wait? Okay, so yes, I realize that it's not always, we like to eat dinner, and many people do it quite late, so it's not always optimal and doable. Now, I've said this after 4. The people that I have been studying, they are eating a normal diet, which is containing carbohydrates. So I don't know if the effect is the same if you are eating a carnivore diet. I suspect that, yes, you might be a little bit more insulin resistant. You might not be, metabolizing your meat as well in the evening as you would be doing early in the day. But whether the effect is that, severe on a carnivore diet, I don't know. I don't think it is as bad as obviously as eating a normal balanced diet. I'm always doing air quotes, and then someone's probably going to pick up on that one day and give me some hate for that, but that's fine. So if you're hungry after work and training, would it be better to wait? I would probably just eat. I know that you are eating kind of carnivore-ish. So if you do eat in the evening, I would just make sure that it's, unless it's for a purpose, I would make sure that it is pretty much 0 carbs. Now, for some people, they might want to have a little bit of carbs before bed because it helps them sleep, and that is all good. But if it's just for, for optimizing what you're doing, then if you're training, maybe you want to eat on those days after work. If you're not, maybe you can actually fast those evenings. Just mix it up a little bit. So I'm really trying to, I'm up early every morning this year, and sometimes I'm working until maybe 5:30, and then I'm trying to eat as soon as I get home. Sometimes I'm eating at 6:30, but I think that's probably the latest I've eaten this year. Sometimes I can go home at 3:30 or 4, and then I'm just eating around that time. So I'm not always able to, well, most of the time I'm not able to eat before 4 if I want to have dinner, and especially if I want to eat dinner together with my partner. So it's not always practical, but I do try to eat before if I can, or as early as possible anyway. Nick, okay, so yes, raw milk is hard to get hold in the UK. Yeah, they're expensive. I have issue with dairy, but I have been having a little amounts to get extra fat calories. Yeah. So if you're not doing well on dairy, I wouldn't recommend you to do dairy to just gain weight. Absolutely not. Yes, Rosalind, getting closer. Yep, I certainly do. Couple of weeks at this speed, or maybe a little bit more. So I will be here next week. I will still be posting videos, but the week after, we're actually both going down to Greymouth, where we used to live, to do some work on the house. I've taken some time off work to do some painting and sanding, and God knows what we're gonna do. So I'm not going to have as much time, but we're debating right now whether to actually remain here on Sunday and do the live stream or whether we go down on the weekend. So I will let you know at some point, but not today. Shell, maybe I could fix my dinner to go eat it at work and no snacking at night. I have about 15 pounds to lose. Maybe that would give the bod the shake up. Yes. Yeah. Good plan. No snacking. Snacking is never ever good. Really. Just be hungry and eat more when you're eating. Okay, Nasra. Yes, I was thinking about the same thing. Increase the fats specifically for the fatigue, carbs only when you get fatigued on fat. Yeah. I mean, different people respond differently to different foods, etc. Have to experiment and see what you do. But as I said, send me an email and I'll get you in touch with my friend. Okay. So Nengs just admits that he's doing something illegal by drinking raw milk. Who wants fat mass? Ever since I started working out, I want to get chiseled. Currently, I look mildly athletic at my body fat percentage. Okay, I don't know. I mean, if you're on 5% body fat, maybe you actually, look better on 7%. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be, as a woman, I wouldn't want to be 5%. I would look anorexic. So obviously, on a man, it's different. Andrew, off to put the kids to bed. I will leave your stream running. I'll watch later. Excellent info for him. Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. And if you're watching it later, thank you so much. And enjoy putting your kids to bed. Yes, good point. Thanks. It is possible to get too lean and have too little body fat, which affects hormone regulation, which inhibits gains. Yes, this is true. Is it fine to eat frozen berries? Funny, because it was like 29 degrees here on Thursday, and I came home from work and I had to do some work for myself in my office, and my office has windows on that side and windows on that side, which is lovely. I love it in here, but it was really hot. This is like the greenhouse effect. So I got some frozen blueberries out and I just sat eating a frozen blueberries. I didn't let them thaw at all. I just actually enjoy having that cool thing in my mouth. Yes, blueberry habits also killer. Yeah, so I can't see anything wrong with frozen berries. Something I do want to tell you though, this happened in the UK for me. I used to do smoothies at the time, so this was like 10 years ago or more. I used to have blueberries, some Greek yogurt, and probably had some milk, I think, even though I shouldn't be doing milk. And I used to buy either blueberries or raspberries, and I had these raspberries, and I made this this smoothie. And God, I was sick like a dog. And when sometimes someone has to pick these berries, they pick them if they haven't washed their hands after being to the loo, and they pick the berries, they freeze them straight away, those bacteria might actually survive. So I was food poisoned from eating raspberries, and it does happen. So just be aware of that. They're raw foods that someone has touched. So yes, they're fine to eat, but you're running the risk of actually being sick. So I didn't eat frozen raspberries for a while, and I'm still kind of like, well, I'm not sure. I like blueberries better anyway, but should I just hit autoplay on your channel while I go to work? Yes. Just put play all in a playlist and they will go on for hours, especially if you go for the live streams because they're all pretty long, like an hour or two, most of them. I'll get many hours from that. I should do that for myself, actually. I don't know if it's counting when it's the same IP address though. Maybe it does. Luke Tunangs. I forgot that, I'm aware, but I see that as a restricted problem for some people who are genetically lean or dieted to unnatural levels. So I think we need to, I mean, what you say is great, and referring back to what I said earlier, sometimes looking that chiseled and that, super lean, super strong, it looks really cool, and people would be impressed by it, and it's like, wow, how can someone get to that level? But it's not actually healthy. So do you want to be there just for the accomplishment of being able to achieve that? Or, can you sacrifice some part of your health for that? And are you willing to make that sacrifice? Uh, aren't you going to promote my artistic mimi prowess, Miss Pym? What? What mimi? What are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm totally confused. I'm just looking at your avatar there. Is that what you're talking about? I don't know. Sorry, Luke. You have to be a bit clear. Maybe my brain is just like, ah. I've done 3 times 36 hours in a week for a month. Okay, that's good. That's pretty good if you can do that. And still it's that high. Yeah, okay. Maybe 36 hours isn't enough for you. Um, Something that I don't think Nick talked about that, but I know he's trying that with people. Are you on metformin? Or you could even try berberine as something. I mean, they are blood glucose stabilizers, but they might be able to help you on the way, maybe. I know that Nick has been talking about maybe using that. He actually did it on himself, even though he's not insulin resistant, and he saw some sort of change, but it wasn't a lot for him. But I think he's using it with clients. And when I have him back to talk about the training, I will also ask him about the metformin. So I'm just gonna write that down because it's quite interesting. Uh, so berberine is actually known to pretty much have the same effect as metformin. Obviously, I don't know anyone who's done the test when you are in the state that you are, but you might want to look into something like that as well. Diabetes mellitus. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Fucking Latinus is bestus languagus. Luke, have you lost it? Yes, try the high intensities. It's not gonna hurt you. Irma. Sorry, I can say it right. Late again, been working, waiting for a tram, freezing, but it's my cold exposure. Yes. Okay, yeah. Um, Bloody hell, I hate freezing, but sure. Dragonfire is here. You want to put on weight muscles. Cool. I'm not sure if that was a question or just a comment, so I'll move on. DBJMK, as a 190 to 200 pounds guy, I'm a novelty. Pound for pound strength is my goal. Too expensive to get bigger. Cool. Okay. Then I don't think that related to any previous question because I can't remember any. So 200 pounds. Yeah, you're a big guy. Too expensive to get bigger. Yeah. You have to have my butchers to send me an email last night saying we're selling beef fillet for $19 per kilo. And I was just only Sunday, and I was like, yeah, I'm going there in the morning. So I got like 4 kilos of that. Okay, Shell, good on the blue light. I have all my wake devices are set to turn off the blue light. Cool. Well done, you. I'm glad that you're taking measures to do that. And drink only water, no snacking. Let your body do what it's supposed to do at night and rest. Luke says, dining late makes me feel sickly. I would rather fast until sunrise or just have something light to curb hunger from working out. Okay, that's good. So then your body automatically just wants to eat at the right times when you actually should be eating. So that's ideal. I snack on pork cracklings like a handful, damn tasty cracklings. Yes, have them before work. I'll take dinner with me and eat at work. I'll give that a whirl and see what it does. Yeah, that might be a really good idea because if you are truly full before you start working, I'm sure you can go through your whole shift without eating. Pim, much like Bart, are you skeptical on the benefits of raw versus pasteurized milk? So, Luke, I have read so many things about milk in my days, so I'm kind of like I think that raw milk might be better for you unless it has pathogens. I know Bart is skeptical because he wouldn't want to touch it because of he thinks he might get sick from it. A few years ago, we were volunteering at a like housing cooperative, and they had a cow, so I went there and I was kind of milking that cow in the mornings, which was pretty cool. Um, I didn't drink the milk, but I did make some panna cotta. No, I didn't make panna cotta, but parfait from it, and I was eating that. And it has a different taste, obviously, and it's much stronger because that was a proper grass-fed cow. She didn't have any grains or anything, and it was all fresh. So I'm not too worried about the bacteria. Um, I'm sure that it's a lot healthier and that you get a lot of things in there that are better for you than pasteurized milk. But on one hand, I'm also a little bit like so many people are sensitive to dairy. So many people find it inflammatory. So many people probably don't think about it as being inflammatory, but it is. Um, and some people will handle it really well. So I think it totally depends on who you are as well. And I mean, a good point to keep in mind is whether it's A2 or A1 beta casein in there, because so many more people are sensitive to the A1, for example, than A2. So that might be even more important. I don't know. I'm kind of like confused about milk. Let's put it like that. I don't feel like I can give you a definite answer what my opinion about milk is because I'm so confused. It seems to be all over the place. Some people are doing really well with it, and some people are doing terribly with it, and then some people do really good with raw milk and not good with pasteurized milk, and some people do great with pasteurized milk. So it's like, try it, see how you feel. I mean, if you do well on it, just do it. You can also try to remove it and see if you do better. If that is the case, then maybe you do have a problem, but you didn't know about it. So I'm all for experimenting, as I always say. Shell, other people need to chime in here. I feel like a chat hog. Was great. You can be a chat hog. Thanks. Just to clarify, it isn't illegal for me to drink raw milk. It's illegal to purchase raw milk. It's almost impossible to get in Canada. I drive to the US to get mine. Oh, really? Holy crap. I hope it's not a very long drive. I was going to ask if you were stealing it, since you weren't buying it, but that is also illegal, I guess. So, I don't know. Okay. That's pretty cool, though, that you can do that. It's not Mimi, it's meme. Yes, I know that. It's it's a can we call it a joke? Because the first time I was like, what the fuck is that? Mimi. And then I learned that it was meme. And I just liked saying Mimi anyway, because it actually says Mimi, it's not meme. It's just stupid. Um, anyway, I don't know what your meme or Luke's Mimi is. Uh, okay, so tried berberine, but it gave me a bit of stomach distress. Might try it again. Okay. You might also want to, if you try it, just, um, if you have the opportunity of doing that and you're trying it, check your blood glucose and insulin before you go on it, and then after a period of time to see if anything has happened. Or you might even ask for your doctor for metformin and do the same thing, so that you give it 3 months or so to see what's actually going on, if anything is changing. Luke, I might be maybe a bit dirty from all the classes this week. Yep. Gosh, I'm such a manlet on 150 pounds. I wish to get a bit bigger, but mostly strong for different bodyweight skills and overall health posture. Yeah. 150 pounds. I'm heavier than you. Okay. Nesra, I get about 1 kilo of organs for €2, ground beef for €4. The hardest thing is getting fatty cuts aside from tongues. Not popular at all, it seems. Okay. Yeah. Do you go to butchers? Actually, I should have asked that, but I felt like I was in a hurry this morning. But I was going to ask if the problem with the butchers here is like they have really cheap meat sometimes, when especially if it's on offer, but it's kind of decently priced. But most of the meat is not necessarily, grass-fed, grass finished. But I was going to ask them if they could get some beef suet, no, some grass-fed beef suet in for me, and I keep forgetting. And today I was just like hurrying because I wanted to get back in time for the live stream. And they didn't open until 8 o'clock. And obviously I'm starting this one at 9 o'clock my time. So yeah, my point was, if you have a butcher's there, maybe you should just go and ask them if they can get it for you. Because even if they don't have it on sale, they might be able to order it in for you. So they're kind of distracting myself in my head. Not a good thing. Okay. I'm trying to piece this out too. Strong dairy tradition in the family. Me and Dad have always liked dairy and actually felt better increasing milk. I would rather say it depends than to demonize it. Yes, I think we can agree on that, and I think that is a very good approach to take. Harry, good morning. Just got up and did my 3 SSS. Bart has a bacteria phobia. Just joking. Well, a little bit. It's not a joke. Maybe that's an autistic thing that he has a very fixed mindset about that could be dangerous. And he's right, it could be dangerous, but how often is it dangerous? So, is it more dangerous than consuming something else? I mean, I've seen him eat vegetables in the past. How often does someone get sick from eating raw milk compared to buying, let's say, pre-packed, washed salad or something? Which one is more dangerous? I actually don't know the answer, but I think a lot of people will get sick from raw packed vegetables as well. Raw milk still has a fair amount of sugar in it, so I'm not sure why people go on about it. Yeah, okay, that's a fair point. It's a fair amount, but also, how much do you drink? If you drink 1 glass, how many grams are you gonna get? I mean, sure, you're getting some, but if you're trying to be keto, it's probably not a great idea to drink a lot of milk. But if you're not too bothered about that, then it's fine. Harry, if you have both lactose SNPs, you can do okay, but if you only have one SNP, then you need the additional enzymes in the raw to deal with the lactose in the milk. Okay, well, that is Cool. If you're only bothered about the lactose, if you are having a problem with casein or whey, then it's a different story, obviously. Or you can just forego the milk. Yes, that's what I'm doing. For me, definitely know that it's whey. Um, I don't know for sure that I don't have a problem with casein, but I definitely know that I have a problem with whey protein. Harry, thanks for sharing that you needed a shit and have a shave for Bart's live stream and your own. I would like to see you come on like Santa Claus with a huge beard. Although, since milk is inflammatory, I will have to try and remove it for a while and see if it makes my Hashimoto's better. Pesky autoantibodies. Okay, yeah. If you have Hashimoto's, maybe that is a good idea. See how you do. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not 100% sure that milk is inflammatory for you. Just keep that in mind. It might not be, but I would encourage you to try without it for a while and see what happens and kind of record everything. And you said you felt better when you increased it, so maybe you do well on milk. But I would still, just for the experiment and to see where you're at, try without it and see. And then you definitely know if you don't have to come back and ask me again. You definitely know whether you're doing better on it or not. And then you can just, adjust to that. What do you think about the GAPS gut healing protocol recommending sulfurous veg in chicken stock? Okay, so the GAPS diet is. Are you just talking about the chicken stock or actually eating the vegetables as well? Because the GAPS diet include some of that. Um, I mean, sulfur, you can get sulfur, you can eat eggs to get sulfur, that you don't need that necessarily. And I don't want to be like super reductionist and say that, oh no, you really shouldn't have it. But in the end of the day, most vegetables have some sort of toxin. So the sulfurous vegetables, I'm kind of assuming that we're talking about like broccoli maybe and those sort of things. Or onions, maybe. I can't remember what's exactly on the GAP side because I know what I was researching that like 10 years ago, but that wasn't for me, so I kind of forgot about it a bit. But just know that there are a lot of things in vegetables that don't really want to be eaten. So if you want to heal your gut, I think that you are just as likely and safely doing that on like a very low carb or carnivore diet is probably better. Um, any type of broth or stock is obviously good for you. You can also kind of actually supplement with, things like N-acetylcysteine, for example, those kind of things, and glutamine maybe. If it's you want to heal your gut, glutamine especially is really good for your gut and for gut healing. So if you are just drinking a lot of broth and stock and you get some glutamine in there, I'm sure you can heal that without, experimenting with those kind of things. Sometimes when they do things, so if you think about how things are actually working in society, no one wants to remove vegetables from our diets because they contain minerals and antioxidants and phytochemicals and whatever. So when anyone designs a diet that is for healing, they will use the vegetables that are least upsetting or can actually help with the healing in some way, not necessarily always that they are functioning. So let's say that you could have done this test and you had done the GAPS diet, like with and without the vegetables. Which one would perform best? I I don't have an answer for you, but I suspect that no vegetables would do really, really well. So yeah, sorry I can't be more specific than that, but I would just get myself in another way. You can try it, but there are other ways of getting sulfur in your diet. Washed salad, do you mean roundworm vector? I didn't really think about anything specific, but there have been cases of people being food poisoned. Like sometimes it's like raw salad, and they've been just kind of been contaminated from like raw chicken, and people got salmonella from them or something. And that's usually when you eat like from the salad bar in a restaurant or something like that. But you never know what's gone into the water system where they are washing, pre-packed, pre-cut salad, etc. And sure, could be roundworms, could be other parasites, could be bacteria. So it's entirely possible. I wonder if doctor would prescribe metformin since HbA1c is 5.3. I had to ask fasting insulin test. He says it's too pulsatil to be of use. He ordered it anyway. However, I knew it has a range. Yes. So you said it was 14 point something. So even if you deduct 10% from that, it's still bloody high. I mean, it's really high. And I think so what this is telling you is that your pancreas is creating a lot of insulin to keep your blood glucose where it is. So you can just go into him and basically, if you want metformin, you can just go and say, hey, can I try metformin because I really don't like the high insulin levels that I have, and I know that it is that high. And I'm aware of that. It's accurate, but it's actually sky high. It's really, really high. You want to go down to maybe 4 or 5 or something like that at least. So preferably 4. So you are very, very far from where you want to be. So he couldn't even argue saying that it's inaccurate and that it's because it's pulsatil that he couldn't argue that as he couldn't use that as an argument for saying that it's not accurate because it's so high that even if you hit it just when a pulse went out with all that insulin, it would never be that high in a healthy metabolism. So yeah, I definitely think that you could go and request it. 5 grams of carbs per 100 grams of cow's milk. Okay, so if you drink 1 glass of milk, you get 10 grams of carbs. Not too bad. If you're drinking like a liter, 50 grams, then we might have to start thinking about however much we're actually consuming. Me too. Filtering out the fiber and bones. Yes. Yeah, I don't think it's a huge problem, as I said. I mean, you're not eating the fibers, but try it. I don't know what to say. Try it if you want to. I've been trying. I think chicken stock, for example, tastes so much better without the farty vegetables in them, because sulfurous vegetables just makes everything taste like fart, in my opinion, and I don't like that. Harry had a goatee for a while. Okay. Ah, okay. So you meant the bot on YouTube versus real life one? Yeah, that one made me laugh. He put it up on Facebook. That's quite funny. You have to ask him to have it on his live stream, or put it up in the beginning of his videos or something. Do you plan to produce some of your own foods, maybe berries or even eggs? So when we lived down in Greymouth, we planned on getting chickens because we had the space, etc. I was about to say unfortunately, but it's not unfortunately. I've chosen to go back to Nelson, so now we're in a rental property, and we can't really have chickens here. I would love to have chickens. There is a feijoa tree right outside there, so that one will get some fruit. The neighbors on that side have grapes, and there's some vines hanging over, so if they bear fruit, I'll probably eat them. And the ex-tenants have left some strawberry plants here that are having some strawberries, but I think the birds might get to them before me. But yeah, I think, if I had my own house, etc., I would absolutely like to have some some of my own berries or even chickens. I kind of like that sort of thing. I should probably have been born a farmer. I like that sort of thing. Thanks, Pim. Your answer makes perfect sense as usual. And I felt like I wasn't making any sense at all. I'm just like blah 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 blah. Um. Well, I'm glad I could help anyway, if I could. Luke, a certain famous carnivore YouTuber says we should supplement magnesium regardless of diet, but aren't some cooked tubes and roots good sources? Yes, I'm aware there are a lot of drawbacks to those. Yeah. Um. Whether they are or aren't depends totally on the soil that they have been growing in. So, sure, some vegetables contain more magnesium as default because they will absorb more of it. But if the soil is depleted, they are going to be depleted as well. So, actually, are you against supplementing, or is it like your stomach gets upset, or why is this a problem? I would just actually rather supplement than eat a lot of tubers or roots to try and get enough magnesium if you think that you're deficient, because you're going to have to eat quite a lot of them to get enough. Necrokitty, and now to start driving for the next hour to get friends and do the bonfire on the beach. I will be listening still using my phone's mobile internet. Necrokitty, enjoy your bonfire and know that I'm jealous at you, and I'll be gone soon anyway. I'm trying to keep it 2 hours, and I'm actually close to the end of the chat unless you're gonna bombard me with things now. So enjoy your bonfire. Banana-chan, is it okay to drinking sparkling mineral water? You have carbonate in. Sorry, I was just reading Shell's comment as well when I tried to talk. I should stop reading when I'm talking. Um, it's not ideal to drink anything carbonated, because it will not be beneficial to you. Actually, I think Bart has made a video on it, or was he just going to do that? But it's not the ideal thing to do. Can you get like still mineral water? That is so much better than having the bubbles. It's not ideal at all. So let me check that, and if not, I will have to address it, I guess. But I'm not sure about everything that goes on. Uh, but it can probably affect your. If you drink a lot of it, I mean, if you do it once, it's not going to be a huge problem, but it can probably affect your metabolism, maybe your pH in the stomach, maybe your bone density, etc. So I would just prefer not to. Uh, okay, meat. Possibly occasional onion or raw garlic could flush things like pinworm, but only medicinally. There is that old saying that if a well person takes medicine, they will become sick. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is crazy. I, I read this a long time ago. I think it was. I can't remember how many cloves of garlic, and you were supposed to eat them raw, and you were supposed to put like chili in it, and or cayenne pepper or something terrible like that, and then just eat that to get rid of parasites. And I was just thinking, oh my god, how can you eat that amount of raw garlic with, you know, something really strong like that? So whether it works or not, I have no clue. I'm not really that experienced in that area, but I am all for using vegetables, herbs, that sort of things to, as medicine. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. Or I think we are opportunistic creatures. Sure, we might function absolutely best eating, being hyper carnivores, but you walk past a field of mint plants and you're going to be like, oh, that smells nice. And you will naturally probably have gone and chewed on it. And the same thing with basil or thyme or whatever. So I think, you know, we're naturally wired to try those things out, and they might have some benefits for us. They might not be all beneficial, and especially if we're doing it all the time, but at times, sure, why not? Just go for it. And I think this is probably so much better than filling yourself with man-made chemical structures that we're not actually evolutionary adapted to handling. So, had tasted many farts, Pim? Lol. Unfortunately, I have smelled many of them. I haven't tasted them. Roslyn, I normally have mineral water daily. However, I don't drink it near meals. It messes with digestion. Okay. Yep. Could probably do. Absolutely. Luke, I just feel like some people don't need that supplementation. Around here, people eat a large amount of beans. It could be bad advice. So sad I made a little typo on the meme. Oh well, I was sleeping when I made it. Sleepy. Okay. So yeah, let me hop back to that one again. So yeah, beans are probably not ideal. So I know you said roots and tubers, etc., and that's probably a lot better than beans because beans have a lot of lectins, almost all of them. Not green beans necessarily, but most beans. But it's getting restless. Why do you say that? Can you hear him making coffee? Oh, Osma, you have 3 minutes until I'm gonna finish this. We've been going for 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 21 seconds, and you're late. I am so disappointed in you. And now you have to watch it from the beginning, and you have to watch it 10 times to give me 10 hours of watch time. That's interesting. Carbonated mineral water gives me hot flashes. I have never heard of that one. That's very interesting. I have no clue why that would happen. The sparkles is the only excitement I get in the day. Haha. Mita, you need to get a more exciting life. That's all I have to say. If that is the highlight of your day, you really need to do something about your life. Took a nap and woke up just to decide to I continue my fast. Okay, good stuff. But you can't nap when I'm going live. That's rude. Yep, the caff addict sighing in the background. Haha, yeah. Okay, that's interesting that you actually hear it because I imagine that he hears pretty much, or you can hear. So he's going to start his live stream in 2 minutes on here. So I imagine that if I keep talking here, you can probably hear him in his microphone because he has one of those, like a Yeti thing. So it's like a stand-alone microphone, whereas I have this one. So this one should be more isolating and not pick up so much of the background noise, and still you heard it. So yeah. Meter, truth, lol. Yes. So Meter, some homework for you. Write a list of 5 things that you could do in your life to make it more exciting. And then next Sunday, if I'm here, let me know about those 5 things. Because if you looking forward to your bubbles that much, you really do need to have something else to look forward to. Awesome. Shell, thanks for the stream, Pim. Great stuff. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope that it's been helpful, and good luck with your eating habits. It'll be interesting to see what happens if you can actually eat your dinner and not snack. Rude I am then. Yes. Igor, hype him. Thanks. Thanks, Igor. So that was it. And we can actually finish on time. We've got 11 seconds. Uh, See ya, Harry. And he is really restless then. Yeah, well, he needs his coffee before start streaming. We know this. We do, definitely. Awesome. So that goes for all of you. If you feel like you're living quite a boring life, just kind of actually have a little think about that. Are there things that you could put into your life that you want to do that could enhance your life? That is a good exercise for anyone. So yeah, let's see. Probably excited for his own stream, getting pumped up. Yeah, let's hope so. Some swearing going on. Thank you, Jimmy. Awesome meter. And I can hear him starting talking now. Jimmy, see you later. Necrokitty, you're driving, you're not supposed to be typing. Stop doing that shit. So thank you. I can't see who has been donating on Streamlabs, but for those of you who have, thank you so much. And for those of you who haven't, thank you so much for just being here. I do still appreciate you. And keep watching, keep supporting the watch hours, and I will hopefully see you again next Sunday. I will have videos coming up during the week, at least two, I think, like Tuesday and Thursday or something, which will be your Monday and Wednesday. And yeah, I will see you next week, I think. So take care. Bye.